of the emergency waiting room. It was jam-packed. And suddenly the silence was broken by a 6-year-old girl. She calls out to her mother, "Mama, what is sex?" Immediately all the heads turned in that direction. And you can imagine, because this was more interesting than the Tom and Jerry cartoon which was playing on the television there. And one question that raised in all the minds that people were sitting, how is this woman going to handle this question? Will she skirt the question? Dodge the question? Because you know, today's 6-year-old are more well informed than the adults of their times. So everybody's attention was towards that mother. Will she tell something about safe sex? Or will she tell how babies are made? But the mother had something else in mind. She paused, looked at the child lovingly, pulled her closer, and said, "Darling, what do you exactly mean?" The child looked at the mother and said, "Mama, this form is saying sex M or F. Am I M or F?" With this, the silence was again broken, and all the people were back chatting. It was hushed. Now, if you can observe, this lady, she heard the question, listened, paused for a moment, digested, and then gave the answer. Now, sex is such a topic, as Sunny Dance every time says, keep away from talking on topics of this, religion, politics, sex, it's very complicated. Though our guidelines do not say, but since it is controversial, we will not speak. But what I'm going to say is, it's such a taboo topic. We are so ill-informed, whether educated or not educated, because there is no source of information for us. So the public discussion is not there. So where do we get the information? Recently, I was one of the panelists for shortlisting candidates for a postgraduate course. I was one of the trustee members. We received a lot of applications for this postgraduate course. And what happened was, since it was a postgraduate, there are a lot of marriage students also. So when the form was being filled, we came across out of nearly 83 forms, at least 10 forms had marital status, married, bachelor, whatever it is. The column of sex, at least 10 forms we came across said never, and in some cases they said twice a week. I can imagine the ignorance. Now today I am here not to talk about, I mean to say, not to sensationalize the issue, but to sensitize an issue. Not to talk about sex, but to talk about sexuality. One of the aspects of sexuality is homosexuality, which people have a lot of questions, but dare not ask. We are ill-informed. My project, or my effort in taking up this project, is to just to educate and enlighten ourselves with few aspects of this, so that we are informed. So I start with that project. Human sexuality. What are the different aspects of sexuality? Now if you look at this, the biological aspects, which deals with the reproductive system of human, the egg getting fertilized, the life being evolved, all this comes under the biological aspects. And then you come to the emotional aspects, where a bonding happens between two individuals or two independent individuals, depending how they express their feelings. And this is again depending on the physical aspects, which is bond is expressed through love, trust, and caring, sharing, all these other things. Spiritual aspects is the kind of impact it has because of our different cultural background, our religious background, our beliefs, our ethnicities. All these are the aspects which contribute to it. Now, what are the different types of sexualities? If you look at it, the first one is heterosexuality. It is something called the romantic or the sexual attraction or the sexual behavior which happens between two individuals of different gender, of opposite gender. The second one you look at it is bisexuality, the romantic or the sexual attraction or behavior which happens between two individuals but with an equality towards both male and the female. And third we have the homosexuality, where the attraction happens or the behavior happens between two adults, but remember it happens between the same sex or same gender. Now what is homosexuality? There are a lot of myths and facts which I'd like to throw a little light upon it. It's basically an attraction or a desire. A behavior happens or desire happens in same sex or the same gender. Now, the next question that pops into our mind, is it basically something to do with whom we have sex with? Emphatically, no. Because it's the same as heterosexual relationship, but the bonding where the basis, the love, the community, and the trust that is developed. Now, it also moves in the direction of discovering ourselves, moving away to discovering others whom we get closer to or where we build the relationships. Now, if you look at a small insight into it, who are homosexuals? In the West, homosexuals are the people, the male homosexuals are called gay, or proud or happy in literal sense, and the female homosexuals are called the lesbians. But in India, you will not have the visibility of lesbians. Now, a little bit you come out in the open because of their groups. It's because of two things. That is, one thing is they are born as women. The first discrimination. The second thing, they are homosexual. So the visibility is not very prominent as in the case of male. Now, what is the legal interpretation that goes into it? Is homosexuality a crime? If you look into the pre-British period, Lord Macaulay's section 377 IPC, it has defined it is a crime. But in July 2009, the Delhi High Court ruled out that consensual or sex by consent between two adults is not a crime. But in December 2013, the Supreme Court came up with a ruling that no court has the power to amend the law except the Parliament. It does not define it's a crime, but they said it can be amended in the Parliament, which is in the process, which I read in the newspapers most of the time. Now, looking at the medical and the social science interpretations, what does the medical science and the social scientists say? As for the saying, is homosexuality natural? One thing you have to remember, that the psychologists and the scientists have come out with the perfect conclusion of their study, that it is just a natural variant of a human sexuality which happens between heterogeneous, so it happens between homogeneous adults. But one thing you ought to remember, that consent and consensus is a must. It cannot be forced upon. Now then, the question is homosexuality a mental disease? The American Health Association, the WHO, the World Health Organization, and the Mental Health Association International, they have come out with this thing, that it has been delisted from the mental health list. It is not at all a mental disease. But you need to remember that an attempt to cure this through inhuman methods is a violation of rights. Now, the related facts, if you go into this, what are the causes of homosexuality? The myths. The myth is the understanding that which we get from uninformed sources. They will say that's because of upbringing, because of the mental, hormonal imbalance, or maybe because of a bad childhood, and it's the way some people are. But the fact is, it is innate, it's inborn, it's inherent. Nothing, it just comes out as we grow and exposure. It doesn't happen through exposure of training or anything, but it emerges without experience. Now the question that comes around, what if everyone turns homosexual? Remember, then the question of procreation. But remember, it is a natural variant, it's a natural, it's innate, natural and inherent. And remember that no heteros can be converted into homosexuals or vice versa. Because, you see, it's no force can change their desire or can be converted. And if at all, by force, if it is done, it can be disastrous. You are just pushing that individual to the brink of a mental imbalance, or you can say almost he will turn mad. But then the question is, can you spot a gay or a lesbian by the way they dress? Normally we think that the gays are, they dress in a more feminine way, or the way they act are more feminine. But if you look at it, the lesbians, and then they say lesbians act like tomboys. It's not so. Because they look and act like normal people. And even the person very close to you, also you might be not knowing that he is so. And this is the kind of social sexual orientation he has. Because of the social discrimination and the way the society treats them, they will always feel prejudiced. And they will always feel the fear to come out in the open and talk. Because they can belong to anyone, they can emerge from your own family members, a friends, a walk of life, anything can happen. But remember, they do not look or act or dress differently. Now what is the challenges faced by these homosexuals? the challenges we face, it's a very difficult, unprecedented, a very embarrassing situation. They find themselves like a square peg in a round hole. It is so difficult for them to express themselves. They cannot reveal to their family or friends. The families disown them. The community shut them. The organization where they are working, they might be even pushed out. But they are in such a situation where they can either swim or drown. Now, what does the expectation from a homosexual individual looks from the society? As an individual in a free country like India, the freedom of movement, the freedom of speech, the freedom of being treated equally with dignity has been enshrined in our constitution. But what happens is, all that they plead and all that they ask from us is, though we are different, kindly respect our difference, respect our privacy, and help us to live and work with dignity. We are asking just you that accept us with compassion, accept us without reservation. We are just human beings like you. I feel that this small presentation which I did, which helped us to enlighten and enhance our view.